Alright, I'm gonna try to tackle this movie, and I know that this movie has a huge fan base, and whatever I say might piss off someone. So I'm gonna try to give both a positive and a negative review because Blade Runner. I'm not gonna say it's a perfect movie. I mean, it certainly has its faults, and but there is a lot of good to it that I can see how it's a classic. Like, I've actually never seen this movie until like maybe a few days ago, and I watched it specifically just to review it. And when I usually watch a movie that's reached this certain classic kind of status, I'm kind of cautious to give it a sort of to give it a review that's not biased. Because usually when it's something like this, it's usually telling on the good things. So I'm gonna start with the good. The good is that this movie is it's an art house film, and it actually does do the job well. Like, it's very kind of gritty. It's really dark, and it's the mood really reminds me of what's it called, tech noir. Yeah, where it's set in this world that it's not post-apocalyptic like it, but you get a sense that it's not a very good future because um, you have this world where police have to track down people who aren't actually people, and then no one knows. You can never actually be certain that someone's a human because in this world, um, the what are they calling it? Nexus 6, the androids they make, they um they can sometimes pass off so real that it takes like a certain polygraph test to determine who's not human and who's not. And it works. That's the good about the movie. And what else is good? Acting's good, and even though there's little action, I'm not gonna complain because the action scenes, they were very good, and it works. But when I saw this movie, I was kind of expecting a sort of like detective type story, and I actually watched the director's cut, which took out the voiceover, and that's what I think what I felt was missing. Like, I wanted to hear more of Harrison Ford's character, but I didn't really I didn't really get enough of his character in this cut of the movie. Like, I know that in the original version you have voiceovers, which I think would have made the movie a little bit better, because in this type of movie I was expecting a sort of detective type story where the main character is always like having these narrations in his head that no one else can hear. So, and what else can I say about this movie? Now that's okay, I talked about the positive, and but the negative, a lot of people don't a lot of people don't really, I haven't really seen this come up, but no one really mentioned that like a lot of the stuff in the movie, there's a lot of plot holes in the movie because the whole idea that these Nexus 6 androids are running amok and they need Blade Runners to take them down. I never really saw people mention the fact that if they're having such a problem with Nexus 6 machines and that they have to run a special test with them, they could just like stop making them like that or like inhibit them more. Because I never really saw the need for Nexus 6 to have um, a sort of artificial intelligence to the point that they could pass off as human, and at the only the only thing they have to prove that one is not a replicant is to run a test on them. Like, they all they needed them was for like work. They needed them for like small tasks or like moving stuff or construction stuff. Something that like, I don't know, just a robot with no artificial intelligence could do. Like, this is something that this when you have artificial intelligence, like it's usually for something that's you're trying to experiment with, trying to make a new sort of species and trying to see how they interact with each other, not for something like construction. Like I understand that like you can have this kind of robot if for them to worry about their own safety and stuff. But that's why we have stuff like iRobot, which has they each machine is programmed with like 3 rules. Like you can't they can't hurt humans, they can't kill anyone, and I think it has something to do with like they have to protect their own self without breaking the other 3 rules in process, other 2 rules in process. Like that. So I don't know. That was one of the bigger problems for me. Like, and there's also other problems. Like, I never really got why um, they needed Blade Runners in the first place. Like, if these are factory made machines, like I always like I thought they would have like a chip in them where if one went rogue, they can just like hone in them. Like they don't have to hunt them down or like go through suspects and hunt them down. Like this this is something that they could just like ask the company who we need this person, show us this person. And even the whole polygraph test like didn't really make sense to me. Like I thought like if I was making these robots, I would just have like a certain thing that they cannot pass off. Like okay, wait. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say I would always put in like a certain flaw to make sure that replicants could never pass off as real humans. And I understand like if no replicant can pass the test, but in the movie, um, in the movie, it takes like a Blade Runner to determine who's a replicant and who's a human. When in truth, it should just be like any person can determine who's a replicant because if only certain like trained people can determine a replicant, that creates a lot of problems. And what else? And I'm not trying to say that I don't like this movie. Like it's a good movie. Like it certainly deserves the status it has, but it's these little things that I noticed that I have to mention. But overall, it's not bad. I mean, the setting the setting actually looks really, really good. And the whole imagery, like, it really builds up to, like, it's a beautiful setting, but it's also, like, you never see really daylight. It's always dark, and, even when it's in the daytime, it's, like, the buildings look depressing. Like, it's that kind of film noir setting that, makes this movie, um, it makes this movie enjoyable. And if there's anything else I can mention, no, there's not that much else I can mention. Like, I really like the climax at the end where, you'd think it was, just the villain tormenting Harrison Ford, but he turns out more as, a tragic character. Like you start off the movie as thinking the replicants are bad people, but in the end, it turns out the replicants are just like they just want to fit in. So it really creates this thing where you there's no villains in this movie where it's just like it depends on who you feel is right and who you feel is wrong. Like is it right to hunt down replicants or is it wrong to hunt down replicants and are they being mistreated? I mean, like, you get that really through Harrison Ford's character, because he falls in love with a replicant. And it creates this sort of dilemma where you're trying to determine who you want to side with. Like, in the movie, the movie at first seems to want you to side with the humans wanting to hunt down not down Blade Runners, hunt down the replicants, but near the end, you're siding with the replicants because it doesn't seem like they pose any threat to humans other than humans make them a threat by hunting them down. Like it's sort of it's a violent cycle. So I don't know what to really say about this movie. I mean, I have my negative, I have my negative comments on it, and I have my positive comments on it. Like, overall, it's not bad. Like, I would give it a B. Is it overrated? No, no. I don't think it's overrated. I mean, like, it certainly deserves the status, but for me, I think it could have been a little bit better. Like, it could have explained a little more stuff, a little more, because I can't help it. Like, I noticed these little small plot holes in the movie that I just gotta say it. All right. Now, if you guys want to explain these little plot holes that I mentioned, feel free to comment. Like, I don't care. Like, comment to your heart's delight. But that's it for the Blade Runner review. But this is only part one, because I know I've left out the whole argument that Rick Deckard is a replicant or not. I'm gonna split that into two parts. First part, I'm gonna talk about him, evidence supporting he's a replicant. The next part, I'm gonna talk about that he's a human, not a replicant. Now, do I have an actual opinion? No, but I'm gonna explain why in the next two videos, alright?